Afternoon everyone, thanks so much for joining me. It's Carol here at Collage Journals, and I'm going to do my assignment for the Collage Weekly Planner Challenge that is currently on the go at the moment. All the details about the challenge and how you can take part are in the description box below the video. As always, I've got a piece of lightweight card here that I've drawn a board around just in pencil because I will be rubbing that out at some stage, and I'm going to create my collage inside that border. My prompts for week 19 are architecture. I've printed off this page from a digital kit. Now this is one of Roxy Creations digital kits. I'm going to be using either one of these. Now I am struggling a little bit at the moment as to which one of these images I'm going to use. I'm leaning towards this one because of the colour tones. It's nice and warm, but I think this one is going to give me more scope for interest purely because it's more detailed, and I do like it that it's grey and cream tones with a little bit of almost sepia tones. So as much as I love this one, I think this is the one that I'm going to use. I think it's more in keeping with the architecture prompt, if I'm honest. Moving on, the second prompt, something with wings. Well, I've lifted out some bird stamps here. A bumpy surface. This is a little cushion pad that was in a box on top of 2 chocolates, and I saved it purely because of the little comment that's on the top there. But it is perfect, I think, for something that has a bumpy surface, because if I peel this top layer off just very carefully, you can see that it has a bumpy surface underneath. So I could use that. I'm not sure if I will, but I am planning to use it. If this doesn't fit my purpose, then I think I will resort to something more in line with art journaling and perhaps use a stencil with some texture paste through it or some gesso to create a bumpy surface on my page. But initially, I think I'll use that. So I'm going to pop that to one side. Prompt number 4 is a coin or currency. Well, I've lifted out this foreign note for no other reason that it was going spare here at home and that it had the same colour tones in both of these 2 pages. Something black and white. Well, I went for something very obvious here. I went with a spotty dog, or as they're commonly known, a Dalmatian. When we were children, we called them spotty dogs. Again, I'm not quite sure which one of these I want to use. I think this one would go nicely down there, and this one equally would go nicely, providing I angle him or her correctly. Slightly bigger focal point on that one, so I think I probably will go with that one, but I have this one in the background, or in the wings rather, to play with if I need to. And the bonus prompt was squiggles. Well, I haven't lifted out anything for squiggles. I will either do those by hand, or I may well add some squiggles that I print out onto some tissue paper and glue those onto my piece. Again, I'll see how the mood takes me when I get to the end of my collage and see which I fancy using. So let's get started, and as I said, which one of these do I go for? So I'm thinking that I will go with the grey. So I'm just going to get my ruler and roughly use that to tear this to size. Oh, the other thing I ought to mention is I've lifted out this. This is some tape I've just happened to come across this week. It is packaging tape, but I thought that was amazing. I just saw it, bought it, and thought that would be great to use on various projects. And then when I was looking at the prompts for this week, I realised that would go perfectly with my spotty dog on my piece today. So I want to try and get a piece of that onto my page. But anyway, where was I? Easily distracted. This is my background trimmed to the internal border of my page, but if I want to use my note and not cover up the rest of the background, or a vast majority of the background. I've got to trim this away more. So I was thinking that I would trim it down this side and just leave half of that showing. So I'm going to do that. Just looking at how this would look. So I'm thinking maybe tucking that in there like that, but you don't really get an indication that it is a note of any denomination. So let's see what it looks like this way round. And again, if I bring it into my border there, you're not really seeing much. I need to have this dog at an angle because of the way it's sitting. And if I'm not careful, he'll, or she or he will have a halo round its head. So what I'm thinking is maybe using the head to cover up that cog there. Angle him so that paws are on that little turret there. Maybe bring her bottom over the edge of the page, because I've got to get a stamp on here somehow. I think whether I like it or not, I've got to take some off this side here. So let me do that. So I've got my background trimmed to size now, but to get enough of this note showing, I need to trim away more on this side. So I've been playing around with my pieces, and I like the position of this dog here. It will mean that she gets a bit of a halo there. What I'm thinking is bringing this one in. I didn't plan to use them both together, but if I bring this one in, it looks all right in the background and the size isn't too out of sync. So I'm thinking something like that. And by having this dog there, it softens the edge here and leads me on to the banknote. Now, if I put that piece there, I'm thinking about that square there and the shape of this. I was thinking if I put that there and brought in one of my stamps, say for example this one, then all my collage is down the right hand side of my page, so that won't work. I could take that away and just have the stamp there, but again, whilst that sits nicely in that corner and it works much better than if I use this textured piece, again I've still got everything happening down this right hand side of my page. I could bring in some washi down here. So where's that? I could bring in a little bit of this down this side of the page to balance up with the dog. So I'm just going to rip a piece off. So I could bring in a piece of this in some way, probably like that. So I'm just going to very carefully just lay it down. And that can work if I pull this down further and it balances out the dogs then. That works. So I could do that idea. Or what I was thinking as well is if I cut away this and just follow that line down there, then I could have this trimmed down just over the edge and inside that line there. So something like that, if you imagine that the piece will come down there. And then I could have a stamp or my birds, or a bird rather, up there, and then that balances that out on the diagonal. I wouldn't use this one. Could use that one. That's quite bright though. Let's have a look. This is a lovely little wren. As I say, I would trim this down so that my stamp is half on and half off this piece and comes into the piece. It balances it out because it's across the corner. Not too much, but it works. Even though that's got a blue surround to it, there was a blue hint of blue in the actual note itself, but this second Dalmatian, the smaller one, covers most of that up. So I would probably go for this one as a better colour match all round. And the browns in this are picking up the browns in the note and the browns of these pieces down there. So that sort of works, but I'm now just trying to decide. Maybe I could get away with, you see, that would be nice in the background, but then I've got the spots again on the right hand side, which is too much. doesn't want to go down there. The obvious place for it to go is up there. I'm wondering whether I could put this over the top, maybe. Let's have a look at that. Something like that. Does look like I've got something happening in the top left hand corner and bottom right hand corner, and never the twain shall meet, and nothing going on here and here. Do you know, I think I'm going to go for it. I am going to do a little bit of trimming down. I'm going to take a little bit off the bottom here, so there's a line there, and I think I'm just going to trim on the outside of that line, and I am going to trim away down here. So on the left hand side of this line, this will need trimming down, the bubble wrap thing or the texture, but I'm liking where the dogs are, so I'm going to just hold them in place, and I'm going to put a dab of glue behind them to secure them. Okay, let's go in and do the trimming that I want to do. So I've been playing around with this one for a wee while now. It's not really been working for me, but I'm going to go with it. What I've done is I've put a little bit of washi tape behind here, and I'm going to just have it peeping through a little bit so that you can get a hint of black there. I haven't glued down that stamp. This was just a scrap of washi that I was getting frustrated with, and I just put it down on my piece, and actually I quite like it. So I'm going to go with that piece, and it is really a rough scrap. So I'm just going to glue that. This was the stamp I was playing with originally, and I was going to have it something like that on my piece and use the greys of the surround to pick up the greys here and the browns to pick up that. But it was all looking a bit disjointed, and then I noticed this one in my stash. Now, I don't like this stamp at all, it's not my kind of thing, but I actually like it if I change that stamp out, and it just stays all with the same black and white theme. I have got browns here, but I've got tones of brown in that, so I'm going to go with this stamp. Crazy, I know, but I am. And I'm staggering as always my edges, but I'm lining it up with that line up there so it's not too out of sync. I'm going to glue down the rest of my Dalmatian here. Still got my squiggles to get on, and I think the more I think about how I'm going to do those, I think I'm going to print off some squiggles onto some tissue paper and use those on my piece. Okay, I best glue this, let's lift that one out of the way. Best glue this washi down because it's only a scrap I was just playing with, so it's not really glued down in any way, shape or form. Okay, so this is how we look so far. I've lined up this edge with this pencil border down there, this edge with this one down here. So I'm just going to glue my note in place. So I've printed out some swirls onto some tissue paper, and as you can see the tissue paper is still attached to my acetate, so I need to just gently peel that off. It's only attached around the edges. I'm not planning to use these swirls, but I am planning to use some of these and just see which ones are going to do the business on my piece. I think this one's too big. I might use one of these, something like that one. Ooh, that little one's nice. I might use that one up in there, or I could actually even go for one of these. So I'm just going to do some rough tearing away don't want really straight edges on this. Should be using water really, but I think I should be all right with just tearing it away with my fingers. I'm actually pulling it apart rather than tearing it. I'm actually thinking that this one might be nice up at the top here. Something like that. Just something little and discreet up there for a swirl. I'm liking that little one in there, so I'm going to go for that one down there. So here we go everybody, this is my finished piece, and as always I'll put some photos at the end. I have to say that it has grown on me. Not a lot, but it has grown on me. So let's very quickly go through the prompts here. Architecture, that was my page at the back there. Something with wings, well, I've got a black and white bird here. Bumpy surface, well, I've got this piece of the chocolate protector underneath this little collage element here. A coin or currency, well, I've got my foreign banknote there. Black and white, well, I've got my washi tape and my two lovely spotty dogs there, and obviously I've got splatters on a white background. And finally squiggles, well, as you can see I've got a couple down here, I've got one there, one there, one there and one there, so I think I've certainly hit the multiple prompt on that one. So as you saw, these were printed off onto tissue paper and then glued on with a range of multi-matte media. So there we go everybody, thank you as always for watching. Until the next video, take care, bye bye now.